This is Tech Z. I'm here with HL, also known as Hollow Fractal Explorer, one of the most amazing people I've ever met. This guy is only 29 years old, looks a lot younger, and this guy is absolutely brilliant. He's acquired so much knowledge; it's just mind-bending. I didn't think there were people out there still alive out there, especially in America. And where do you hail from, brother? St. Louis?
I'm from St. Louis, born and raised. I went to school in Ohio, lived in Oregon for a little bit, and I'm back in St. Louis for the time being.
Well, we're lucky to have you, man. I gotta say, you're a very humble guy. You just describe yourself as a guy that loves learning, and we can see that. You've uploaded like, I don't know, 300 gigs to Key Chest or something like that of some of the most amazing material. It looks kind of like a Wikipedia of occult knowledge that's no longer occulted.
Yep, we're getting there. We're getting there.
So,
So, yeah.
what should I call you, man? Hollow, HL,
It's actually Ekel, but
XL.
yeah, that's part of my last name, so you could go with that. That's cool. Ekel.
Okay. And what does that mean exactly?
In terms of in my head, the L part means God, and the Ek part, I kind of got it from Dan Winter, who I'm very, very mixed on, but this is just words, you know. But Ek means charge, so in my mind, is the charge of God. God.
I like that. Well, anyone that seeks knowledge and wants to share it with others is definitely doing the Lord's work, no matter what religion you believe in. So I respect that immensely. I think it fits. I think it fits very well. So you have such a broad range of knowledge. It's just mind bending. I don't even know where to start with someone like you. It's like we whooped it a Marlin here. So you kind of remind me of a young Thomas Joseph Brown in a way.
Well, it's a
Yeah.
strong comparison there.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, like you're into, when you're learning, you get passionate about a lot of stuff, and your
Mhm.
passions kind of change over time, and you acquire new fascinations and go back to old ones. What are you currently super passionate about right now?
Well, right now I'm very passionate about biogeometry. Like I love reading about it. Like there have been very few paradigm shifts I've had in my life. Like I learned about quantum mechanics and string theory stuff back in college, and I threw that away a while ago. But that was one paradigm shift. And then I learned about hadronic mechanics and a few other things. But then I learned about biogeometry, and it made me consider vibration and the whole spectrum thereof in a completely different manner, and how you can use it to balance your environment, your body, your health, your mind, anything you want. It's unbelievable.
Well, so biogeometry, in my simple understanding, is just the power of shape to affect changes in the physical and energetic world. What would you describe? What's biogeometry to you?
It's a shape power type thing. It's using shape as an interface for the ether, basically. You use shape, and you not only can use shape, but you can use color, light, sound, yogic postures, tongue postures, all kinds of things to resonate with higher spiritual qualities that can then be resonated with through these shapes to balance your environment and physical systems.
Wow. So you'd say everything from the ancient Masonic architecture to modern cathedrals to like the little glyphs and runes you'll see on carvings, etc. They're all manifestations of biogeometry.
Exactly. Even the hieroglyphs, even all the little hieroglyphics, they each one puts out a specific type of energetic quality. And biogeometry you can refer to as the science of quality. Basically, you're not looking at numbers. Well, you can't look at the quality of numbers, but you're looking at how things can relate to each other. I'm doing a bad job at this.
No, you're doing a great job of this. I think it's a very integrated field of study. It's not just shapes, but it also hooks into numbers, to music, to color. Just like you said, it's a pretty deep field of study. So the leader in biogeometry is Dr. Ibrahim Karim, correct?
Mhm. Yes, and he rediscovered this from the French radiesthesiast who, I guess, borrowed this from Egypt. So it's Egypt kind of taking its own knowledge back in a sense. At least that's the way I think of it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that was an interesting story. He had to actually travel to France from Egypt, find the translated writings of these guys, and translate them, and then you're right. A lot of it probably came from Middle East at that time, and then the Arabs got it probably from the Greeks, who got it from the Egyptians, and who knows where the Egyptians got it from? Atlantis? We don't know.
Yeah, that's a whole nother that's a whole nother story, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you're not just a reader. You're also a tinkerer and an experimenter. You like to do. Do you have any? Have you purchased any pendulums? Have you experimented?
Yeah, I'm not novice for sure, but I bought a couple of their pendulums, and you can just go around. These two detect what are called the BG3. This other one. The BG3 are the three main spiritual qualities
Bring it up
that
a little bit.
that resonate with the ether. And so you have the harmonic of gold, the harmonic of ultraviolet, and the harmonic of negative green. And the negative green can be split into two components: a positive horizontal magnetic-like element, and then a vertical negative electric-like element. And what's kind of strange is that in like a lot of the standard platonic solids, especially like a standard pyramid shape, those will actually emit the vertical negative green. So a lot of like if you see people meditating at a pyramid, you should kind of double take because that's not good for you. Patrick Flanagan, the guy the big pyramid guy, pyramid guru, he
Yeah.
worked he worked worked with pyramids for so long, not knowing about some of the detrimental energy they actually put out, and his health really turned on him. And he actually turned to biogeometry to turn things around. And he has a fat golden tattoo of this shape right here. Can you see that?
Yeah, yeah. It's
Okay.
like a
He has a
wedge.
tattoo of that shape basically on his hand. He made with a self-patented gold ink tattoo. Yeah, so he has a legit gold in his skin to protect him from all this pyramid research and from psychic attacks and things like that.
Well, so being near the pyramid can be detrimental to your health. Is it inside the pyramid, on top of the
It's inside
pyramid?
the pyramid, and you can think of the horizontal negative green as being almost like or vertical negative green, pardon me, as almost like a mummifying type energy. And so when you're working with biogeometry, and if you're trying to detect these negative green lines, you have to do a cleansing ritual before and after because this negative quality will actually be detrimental to your health when you're trying to detect it radiesthetically.
Wow. So the vertical negative green is detrimental to your health. How about the horizontal
The
negative green?
horizontal, that's magnetic-like and apparently is beneficial. And then you have the two other harmonics, the gold and the ultraviolet. The ultraviolet resonates with the angelic order, and there's specific shapes that actually that resonate with that quality. And then there's the high harmonic of gold, which is like the it's like the number one quality. It's the transcendental quality that balances everything. It overreaches everything. It has precedence over all other qualities. It can negate the negative effects of electromagnetic pollution. When you take little biogeometric circuits that kind of look like this little guy. I don't know if you can see this. This is a biogeometric medallion I've been wearing for the past couple months. But you can put something similar to this close to electronic circuitry, and it will actually emit this high harmonic of gold across these transmission lines and balance it so that the basically won't get sick from being around too many electronic devices.
Wow. So you've actually, you feel a difference. It actually protects you from the
Like,
Wi-Fi and whatnot.
yeah, well, I can't speak on how this makes me feel around Wi-Fi. I mean, I feel the same. But in terms of wearing this medallion, I mean, you can't really see it up close. But on this, there's over 300 little squiggly things called biosignatures. Each one
Ah,
of, each one of these biosignatures, they represent the flow of etheric energy through any organ, basically, and and you can trace the little flow. And if you draw these biosignatures, you can correct any imbalances in any organ system. And But this one has about 300 of them. So if you constantly have something like this in your energetic field, basically, it offers a kind of instantaneous but always continuing energetic balancing for your body, kind of.
Wow. So
It's like a constant support system. Like it's a constant subtle energy support system.
it sounds like an item in like World of Warcraft or Baldur's Gate or Fallout 2 or Final Fantasy. You equip it and like, what are you getting? A plus one vitality, plus two.
I'm big into meditation, and I've never felt more open than after wearing this for the past couple months. It has been a journey. Like this girl I'm seeing, like I can feel her from a distance all the time. It's ridiculous just because I've been wearing this so much. My chakras hurt a lot. Like I'm going through some weird stuff just because of this. I'm experiencing new sensations all the time. It's scary but very exciting.
Wow, wow. I wish I was sensitive like that. I tried to do the little. I bought a pendulum too, and I tried to do the little test to see how many times it would spin. One of our guys, Spartacus, it spun like 288 times. He said, "Me,
I love
not
Spartans.
not even once. I didn't even get one spin."
Yeah. I have I have this little charging tray I use. I always have my water, and you can put produce or whatever on it, and
Oh
you can.
wow.
And I recharge my pendulum on it, and pendulums and medallion on it as well.
Oh
Yeah, just
wow.
another little aspect.
Yeah, this is all new territory for myself and so many people. No one really knows where to start. Like someone like you who's done the
Start
work.
with Dan Davison's book Shape Power.
Ah, yes, excellent book. We've linked to it many times. We'll link to it again. It's on key chests. It's on your key chest as well. So, absolutely, that's an actually amazing book. He even did some amazing gravity experiments
Yeah,
with
with
it.
are you talking about his personal experiments?
I think it was in the later chapters because I mean I think people need to understand that biogeometry is about it can do a lot more than just increase your power or connection to the source. It also has real physical power to like change matter in the real world.
Yeah, and I think of biogeometry like in its prime, it's environmental balancing. That's what it is. You're supposed to think of your environment as your second skin. Besides your own physical health, the environmental health will play a large role in how you feel and how your physiology basically functions, like immunity wise. And so biogeometry is just a way to balance that in a whole. You can actually learn to detect all the different Hartman, Curry, Banker, all these different grid lines. You can actually detect these grid lines across the planet, find power spots. You can balance all these grid lines that are in your house. I know Spartacus is going through that right now. He's
Yeah,
balancing stuff in his house.
absolutely. I mean, it sounds to me like biogeometry is like etheric feng shui. For those that
Exactly. There you go. Like feng shui is, I mean, it's a joke compared to this stuff. I mean, you're using legit shape to vibrate with the ether. I mean, that's what's going on. Those pendulums are shaped a very specific way to resonate with specific qualities of the ether. And that pendulum it's not moving by itself. You're actually moving that pendulum. You're getting a signal sent from that pendulum back through your nervous system and coming back through you. It's like an extension. It's like having another hand that only plays with the ether.
absolutely, yeah. So like, all these tools are really just crutches to help us, because we have to understand the ultimate biogeometry or ultimate etheric sensor is us, right? Is our own
Yeah,
consciousness.
exactly. We're the ultimate divining tool. We are. These are all just little permission slips, little physical things that help us to find our way back to where we need to be. These are just tools. People have other ways of doing this stuff, but this is a way that's hit me hard. And let me say this: if it were for biogeometry, you never would have found me.
Oh, really? How? How's that?
It is the golden thread because you had found me on YouTube. I was offering like the biogeometry like mainstream book. I was offering it to free on their YouTube channels, and you hit me up and you told me to come to Key Chest and check it out, and I followed it. So if it wasn't today, I mean, who knows? I might have found you a different way.
Wow, wow, that's amazing. Yeah, biogeometry is amazing. I'm glad that I found you because you're a hell of a find, man. Really reeled in a marlin. I've been to School of Guppies, but yeah, man, it's so refreshing. I just want people to understand how refreshing it is to actually meet someone real, who doesn't have an agenda or some dark, some dark persona or something. You're a real seeker of knowledge. You want to know and you want to share. You're not charging $49.99 for each lecture or whatever.
Yep. Try to give it for free. Yeah. It feels good. I want people to talk to. That's my bottom line. I'm tired of boring ass normal conversations. They do nothing. I want real people who can critically think, and this is part of that. That's part of my way to help people out. I want people to learn so I can talk to them.
It sounds like you're trying to build up a civilization around you.
I'm trying, man.
That's basically all of our jobs, right? We're trying to rebuild Western civilization because it's been like dragged into the gutter these past 100 years. So we're finding these kindred spirits around the world, and we're just building a network. That's what Ether Force is, right?
Yep, exactly.
I think it's about time, man, because I can't. I'm too. After like a year of Ether Force, I'm just too strange to have any normal conversations.
Exactly. Like I have trouble bringing myself down sometimes.
Yeah, you mentioned something where you were like talking to some guy, and you were like, "Oh yeah, Einstein, total complete quack," and he was like, "What? What did you say?"
I had that experience. I was at lunch with this girl, and her boss walks in, and I had misplaced my keys, and he's told me, "Oh, Einstein used to lose all kinds of stuff." I was like, "Well, Einstein wasn't all he's cracked up to be, so I don't care."
Yeah, he could barely add, right?
He looked at me. He was like, "Well, I'm entitled to my own opinion, and I'm gonna go my own merry way." I was like, "All right."
Yeah, of course. It's a lot to take in. How deep the rabbit hole goes, and you're someone that's gone. You fell down the rabbit hole, and you're still falling. Like,
No, I came out the other side, man. I've been saying
and now you're bizarro world with the rest of us, me
it's
and
all
Tom Brown.
toroidal, man.
Absolutely, that's exactly what it is. You fall through the other side, and you just keep going through it. It's like a journey through the rabbit hole. And every time you walk through it, you're like, "Oh wow, I didn't notice that."
Yep, exactly.
That's amazing. So, biogeometry has given you a lot. It sounds like it's really fleshed out your store of knowledge and helped you make a lot of connections, which
hmm
is pretty awesome. Where has it led you? Like, what new area of research has it led you to that you just didn't see before?
The power of yoga. I've done yoga for several years, but it made me redefine what yoga actually is, and mudras as well, yoga of the hands. But just like like specific shapes will resonate with the BG3, those three transcendental energetic qualities of biogeometry. The shape of your body and the shape of your hands will also resonate with these, with the BG3. And so there's very specific postures that resonate with it hardcore, and some that resonate with the seven planes of nature, and some that resonate with other energetic qualities. And so I've really learned to think of yoga as by the body's way to resonate with the ether, basically, like manually, basically.
Yeah, there's actually a Korean kind of art form about how to like just use your hands in such a way in these positions and these grips. Like the Masons have all these handshakes and whatnot, and the Sufis have all these signs and whatnot. I tried doing them in grips and whatnot. That
Oh yeah,
must be related, correct?
yeah, exactly. And biogeometry, they teach you all kinds of hand gestures. Look at this. Look at like sacred statues of saints and some of the hieroglyphs, and look at the hand gestures. I'm pretty sure something like that resonates with gold. This is not the absolutely correct way. And then something like that, and standing up and doing that will make your body resonate with gold real quick. It's like an instant etheric cleaning for you, kind of.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow.
And since we were talking about Dan Davison earlier, in his book Shape Power, he also gives 4 exercises. He doesn't give pictures, which I wish he did. But 4 exercises he says he was given by hyperdimensional or higher dimensional entities or what have you. But very specific yogic postures to resonate with the etheric field. I mean, that was like their mission with it.
Wow, so real yoga is a lot more than we think it is. You know, it's
Uh,
actually that's pretty amazing. It's actually a manifestation of shape power using the human body, which is a pretty amazing device in and of itself, right? It's divinely inspired.
exactly, and that can kind of tie in. I mean, we're talking about how you can use vibration of a specific variety to affect your physical and etheric bodies. Uh, yeah, I just lost my train of thought. Let's
Now, it's,
go.
I want people to understand something here because you know people who are tuning in might not understand. Uh, the core of our beliefs is that you know we're not we don't believe I don't believe in evolution. I'm pretty sure you don't either, at least not Darwin's concept of it.
I personally like the Vedic description, falling from the ether down to a certain point and then ascending back upwards.
Oh really?
Like an evolution and evolutionary curve. I mean, it reminds me of I have one of his books. Where's the book? Oh, I can't think of it right now. But it reminds me of the theories of process. Arthur Young. It reminds me of Arthur Young's theory of process, where things start from like a primordial source and solidify back to almost like a complete materialistic view, and then back upwards to a spiritual. I mean,
Well, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, Hermeticism and alchemy, that everything comes from the celestial fire, which you could call the warmth ether, all the way down into the light ether, then to the chemical ether, then into the earth ether, and then it goes back up the opposite way through which it came.
yeah, exactly. Just a
Absolutely.
big repeating cycle.
Absolutely, absolutely. And at the core of all this is an architect that architected this entire system. This was not made by accident. That's what people have to understand is that we're not some hairless monkeys floating on a rock, spinning a flying marble made of dirt, spinning through space. You know, we're powerful beings, much more powerful than we can ever imagine, created by a very an amazing architect.
Pretty good. He's pretty good.
Yeah. So when you look at things from that point of view, it totally changes your outlook. You
Oh,
know,
absolutely. I mean, you just see the cycles in things, and it just makes you appreciate everything in a completely different respect.
and also it puts you into this kind of childlike mode where you're almost like a kid again. You have that sense of wonderment again. Like,
Exactly. Yeah, and like a lot of true gurus will say, you to be truly spiritually advanced, to be closer to source, basically, you have to see the world through child's eyes. You have to regain that wonder, that inspiration to see everything newly again.
Jesus said that as well. If you cannot go to the kingdom of heaven unless you are as a child. You know, everyone from Jesus to Yoda said that. You know, if you want to the Taoist masters, if you want to acquire knowledge, first you have to empty your cup. And in our day and time, our cup is filled with crap. So we really have to work on emptying it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's one of the things I admire about you a lot. It's not just the knowledge that you have; it's how you follow the precepts of the trivium. You know, you're willing to work on the grammar first. You'll research everything before coming to any conclusion. You don't dismiss anything. You're not prejudiced. You look at all traditions
Open
from
skepticism. I mean,
exact.
yeah,
Yeah, and someone like yourself, you look at all traditions, everywhere from the Gnostic to the Vedic to the Islamic to the Jain to the Sikh to the pretty much
yeah,
everything you can find. Have you ever dismissed anything?
theosophy.
Me too. So did Rudolf Steiner.
Yeah, exactly. I'm on a big Steiner kick right now.
Oh yeah, that guy. He wrote 300 volumes. I mean, after a while, you gotta he's gotta tone it down a little bit. Maybe he needs to get some more Monday Night Football. Yeah, I would
Yeah,
actually love to have you here in the Anthroposophical Society in New York. It's a pretty amazing get together of people, but they're all like over 80. You know, they're all really old.
yeah, they need some fresh blood.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it's like One of the reasons I love talking with people like you is because we're trying to bring back all that lost knowledge, like the thread that was connecting. The past us is so thin. You've got guys like Thomas Joseph Brown, who are just trying to keep it going, and everyone would try to snip that thread. He's been attacked, in so many different. He's still being attacked. It's just amazing that we've come this far and we've all found each other.
I know. I mean, you built it, and we all came, man. It's
Yeah,
something
we
special.
built it. So in regards to that, you have so many interests. It's amazing. You've turned me on to Ananda Bosman, and this guy's amazing.
He's
Like,
unbelievable. He was one of the biggest game changers for me. He introduced me to Hydronic Mechanics, and that's why I probably like it so much. But I think I should talk about the Darkroom Retreats for a second.
oh, please. I don't know what that is.
Okay, so there's a lot of ancient shamanic traditions where either children would be raised in complete darkness until they're about 9 or 12, or shamans will go into deep caves for extended periods of times. And so Ananda Bosman had revitalized this tradition called darkroom initiation. And so you go with a group of people for about, I think he does 14-day, then 30-day, and 40-day sessions. But the first one is 14 days of complete light isolation. And this guy is leading you through very intense meditations and breathing exercises to help build your own type of etheric light vehicle, not Merkaba. He calls it Vortexaja, in which is he says Merkaba is actually a trap that basically brings you to fourth density for service to self entities, basically. But his light body, called the diamond body, the Chakra Vara body, it actually looks very similar to the Tom Brown's Dorje Blessing.
Yeah, yeah.
It actually looks very similar to that shape. But that is supposed to be, it's a light body that allows you to bring your consciousness to all times and all places at once instead of just to one thing. So something that he claims can blast you out of the matrix. But this whole darkroom initiation is like the launch pad for this, for your personal spaceship, basically. And so, for the first about 3 days of the darkroom retreat, you basically get all the sleep you were meant to get all your life, and you rest up, and then you start to see low infrared glows and then UV light around people, and eventually you can see the majority of people's etheric bodies, and eventually around day 7 you're supposed to be there you go. They're supposed to be you're supposed to be very close to a full-blown ayahuasca journey, and the whole idea that you're doing this darkroom retreat is that our normal consciousness, for the most part, is regulated by melatonin and serotonin. And so we want to cut off those cycles. So if you're in complete darkness, your body doesn't know when to synthesize serotonin and melatonin at the correct periods. So it just kind of gives up, and it decides, and it still has all these tryptophan reserves from which those are all made. So it has something to do with all this tryptophan, and it actually decides to build psychedelic molecules that are within your pineal gland. I know it's still theory that DMT is in the human pineal gland. We found it in rats, so I believe it's probably there. But within the pineal gland complex, we probably have DMT type chemicals, something called the Harmala alkaloids, which are the other active ingredient in ayahuasca. It's what makes DMT potent and active in that shamanic brew. But it's also like the lucidifier of the experience. And we also have ketamine and PCP and other kinds of crazy party chemicals all up there swimming in this soup. And so the pineal gland can be thought of as a water-filled sack, basically, with these filled with psychedelic piezoelectric crystals, basically, that's surrounded by atrophied rosin cones. So here's a quote from Ananda Bosman about what the pineal gland actually is. He calls it a superconducting resonator, a multidimensional transducer of holographic projection through hadron toroids, and it is implicated. Oh, I lost that quote. Yeah. So basically, it's a water-filled sack with psychedelic crystals that is receiving higher dimensional information that is being transmitted into your imagination, basically. And so after your little ayahuasca type journey, after days like 7 through 9, I think, and this darkroom retreat happened. After that, your imagination is like completely externalized. You are literally living in the virtual reality of your imagination. You're literally God of your own world. You're literally walking through your own mental creations. Like, you feel like you're physically going through this stuff. And then after you get close to the end of the 2-week period, and you've done all these breathing exercises that have built up this vortexigous shape that has protected your consciousness through this whole trip, basically. And so you end up with this tool that you can bring with you just with breath by the end of it. Did that make any sense?
Wow, that was absolutely mind blowing. Now let's go back there, and we could spend like a couple of days on this. This initiation, a darkness initiation ritual, where you say some children would spend the first 10 years of their life in
Yeah, a
complete
decent part
darkness.
of it, because the whole idea is that the pineal gland, due to normal culture and environmental stress and toxins and whatever, your pineal gland begins to calcify around once you start turning double digits, basically. So the whole idea is that for them to continue a shamanic lineage, they want to have someone who has a pure, never closed pineal gland. I mean, we can all reopen all of our centers, but these are people who've never closed them, you know. And so
Wow.
their eyes don't respond to physical light. All the neural receptors, like, it's not wired that way. So they're wired to etheric vision, basically.
So are they physically blind?
I couldn't answer that. I would assume so.
Wow, that's amazing. So they rear these almost like a super shaman, these super antennas. I mean, it sounds like the pineal gland is really some kind of antenna for consciousness, really. I mean,
Yeah, exactly. And according to Bosman, he says in the Vedas that we have 144. Technically, we have 144 senses that we can perceive reality through. 144. It's 7 main vertical chakras times the 5 senses.
7 times 5.
Yeah, I can't forget what the other part comes from, but yeah, he claims. Yeah. And then it has to do with the 4 hemispheres. Each one of those Each one of those. Oh wait, so 7 times the 5. Then you have a 36th unifying sense, and then each of those is like crossed with the 4 main poles of the brain, he calls them, and so you end up with 144.
Oh my goodness! And there are actually some people there that can, switch to precise ones out of that 144 by just configuring the combinations. That's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. The Vedas are amazing. I can't get enough of learning about it. It's the real deal.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I studied Eastern religions in college, and I didn't even start scratching the surface. I just read the Mahabharata and the Bhagavad Gita, but then the Vedas, no one really pushes that anymore. It's kind of,
Exactly, and that's what offers the whole cosmology. And like Bosman relates it to Hydronic Mechanics, and basically through their prose, like how they write their poetry, there's like a certain algebra you can find in it. And I still have yet to heavily verify this, but it's out there that NASA has done a little research on Sanskrit. They think it's a highly advanced computer programming language that they've yet to understand, and they want to use its constructs to help develop their future programming languages.
oh wow.
Yeah, and so here we go. Here we go for language. A programming language for what? For your etheric body. It's literally the Sanskrit, what the Vedas were written in, and Proto-Sanskrit languages. It's the language of Kundalini activation. Each one of the letters, they hold their own particular vibration, and each of these vibrations, you could call them the Bija seed mantras, but each of them resonate with certain energy centers of the body. So by deeply intoning certain sounds, you're able to open up your etheric energy centers. And
Wow.
so, yeah, yeah, basically, yeah.
Wow. So it really is the power of utterance is that powerful. Just the words we utter with the intonations and the intention
Exactly.
is really that powerful. Like, that's something that people don't understand. It's not just about programming your mind with the word, it's the actual utterance itself.
Yeah, but it's the utterance plus the intent. You gotta
Yes.
have the intent there. If you're just making sound without the intent, you're just making a sound.
Yeah.
You need
Wow.
the you need the intent to truly resonate. You need to practice pranayama before and after to kind of flush it through your system too. But you ever heard of a book called The Keys of Enoch? I'm not a fan of Enoch, the whole Enoch thing anymore, but this book is still highly interesting.
I-
Have you heard of it?
Is that Enoch, as in the
Enoch.
prophet?
Yeah,
Or,
exactly. It's called The Keys of Enoch or The Book of Knowledge, written by J.J. Hurtak. But it's one of those, I call it enlightenment porn books. As someone who has some kind of transcendental experience taken to what they consider the Godhead and are given the secrets of the universe. I mean, Walter Russell claims to have a similar experience.
wow. I'll definitely check it out. Anything having to do with Enoch is pretty
Oh yeah.
amazing.
Okay, I'm sorry. I lost my train of thought for. I started talking really fast. And I lose myself sometimes. But in the Keys of Enoch, he said that there are five main sacred languages that can be used to help trigger Kundalini in the body, basically to help trigger the spiritual experience. And it's Chinese, Tibetan, Egyptian, Sanskrit, and Hebrew. And I have this one chant that I like to do that has a sacred name in each of those sacred languages. And you just do that over and over and over, and it feels unbelievable. It feels really good.
Wow. Wow, so those are the five root languages, closest perhaps to the original language that the Creator gave us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then there's a guy named Stan Tenen who did a lot of work on Hebrew, and I mean, just in a short gist, he he claims that Hebrew, written in the original Torah, um, actually describes how light chases its own tail to become an electron while trapped in the cube of space.
Chases its own tail, so that'll be a circle, and it's trapped in the cube of space. That's interesting. I've heard that before. Reference how the circle's inside the cube. The cube is the shape of the universe.
Yeah, exactly. And he says that the two fundamental shapes in the universe are the tetrahedron and the toroid donut. And on the toroid donut, you can equally map seven different colors and spin around three times. And so on this little donut, each color is represented in equal area, and it circles around it three times. But if you trace the boundary of that edge, you end up with what's called the calla lily, and it almost looks like an implosion spiral, basically. But it also fits around the base of your hand and goes up your finger. But you can take the female primordial shape, this curve, basically, the representation of a toroid donut, and you can superimpose it on the fundamental male shape, the tetrahedron, 7 points, or not, I'm sorry. So you take this toroidal shape, this little curve, and you superimpose it within the tetrahedron, and you can tilt it according to certain platonic angles, and you'll get in the shadow, when the shadowgram casts through, you'll actually get the representation of a lot of the sacred alphabets. And it gives new meaning to the term flame letter for the Hebrew alphabet. And Tibetan is also known as a fire letter language.
Fire letter language. So languages are connected to the elements somehow. A
Yeah.
dominant element. So Hebrew and Tibetan are fire languages.
Well, they have fire letters, like Aleph, one of the main letters in Hebrew, that's called the fire letter. And I know Bosman has talked about doing meditations, and he has visual witnesses of him doing a meditation on one of these Tibetan letters, and like holographic projection of the letter appears above him.
Wow, that's interesting because Aleph, it's the same letter in Arabic. You know, they're like Old Hebrew and Arabic are almost exactly alike, and that's the first letter in the name of God. And when Muslims pray, they stick their finger up like this, and that kind of they say it's like you'll feel. The Sufis say if you do it right, you channel it right, you'll feel fire going through up your finger. I never felt that, but maybe I'll try now.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. It's always good to hear this from someone that's a lot more educated than you are because it gives power to your intention. You know what I mean? It really
Yeah,
makes you believe it more.
yeah, exactly. Just a little more oomph, a little more backup for you.
Yeah, so more about Ananda Bosman and Hydron Mechanics. Like, can you get into? I mean, I've done a little looking at Hydron Mechanics, but I'm totally lost.
Yeah,
What is Hydron
yeah.
Mechanics?
Again, I'm just skimming through it. Yeah, it's crazy. But Hydronic Mechanics was developed by a guy named Ruggiero Santilli. He's heralded by Karl Popper in some I forgot what book he wrote, but in one of Popper's books, he says Santilli is the mathematician that's going to bring us out of the Dark Ages. Santilli is one of the brightest mathematicians ever. You can look up his name. He's on a list close to every other major mathematician. But the whole idea of hadronic mechanics is that he's redefined the ether. And he's also come up with a fifth unified field force that operates within the ether. And he's discovered a new class of molecules called magnecols and hypermagnecols, which he can actually create in a plasma arc generator to create novel, non-polluting fuels out of sewage and radioactive waste. I mean, that's like the industrial applications of the science. But here's the definition of what you can consider the hadronic horizon, his etheric medium. It's the hyperdense medium at 10 to the negative 13 centimeters in the microcosm of the atom, where the wave packets are overlapping in infinite recursion. It is a state that is hyperdense, hypertemporal, and hyper-relativistic. Yeah, there you go. It's actually, unlike quantum biology, it's actually capable of describing the living matrix, the living crystal of DNA. The hadronic horizon can be considered the macro irreversible omnipotent order. It also describes states of room temperature superconductivity. He discovered new species of heavy hydrogen. He was able to give the first real deal treatments of antimatter by unifying its electroweak and gravitational interactions. He developed a Lie-isotropic and Lie-immiscible algebras that are capable of explaining the dynamics of extended particles and the electromagnetic waves operating through this etheric medium he calls the hadronic horizon.
Sweet Lord, is that all he did?
He has a lot more. I mean, that's what I could write down in about 10 minutes.
This guy is still alive too, right?
No, but to develop all this, he created new systems of numbers. He redefined what numbers were. He went back to number theory and developed a whole set of physics based off of that. And he considers like quantum mechanics and relativity and all that as very low rungs, very limiting theories that have, within their proper framework, they can predict things. But they're still highly limited and can't explain what the stuff we're talking about.
It sounds like he's being very, very nice. He's a gentleman.
Yeah, and he has written volumes about how he's been suppressed by Einsteinian followers, if you will.
Absolutely.
I mean, he has tons of the documentation to prove it, too. Let's see.
So, Ruggiero Santilli is the man. He's still alive. He was born in 1935. He's about 80 years old right now. This guy is still with us.
Yeah, I have, that fuel I was talking about that that uses plasma arc flows to kind of slice sewage into a new state. It produces something called magna gas, and it's almost just like Brown's gas. It's real close to HHO type stuff.
Wow, wow! We have to do an article on this guy. He sounds like he's a little too much for bear, though. He's been around the block.
He's very intense. He himself seems to have a bit of an ego.
Can't blame him if he's done all this. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but yeah, that's about what I have on hadronic mechanics for the moment.
It sounds like an entire science for studying the ether and how it manifests with physical matter. I mean, it sounds like an entirely basically a replacement for our bunk physics that we have right now, and the whole thermodynamics from Newton, all that bunk has to be thrown out. But what are we going to replace it with? That's the thing,
Yeah,
you know.
I mean, I think this is one of the valid candidates, and I think the Keshi science, I can't even pronounce his name, the Iranian
Yeah,
physicist.
I think
Uh,
it's Keshi. I don't know either. What do you think of the guy?
I mean, I haven't looked into him that much, but I've just been watching a couple of videos, and he gives pretty interesting ideas on what plasma is. I mean, I remember watching a Moray King video, and he talked about how turbulent plasma can be a good approximation for the ether, and how you can use cavitation to play with that. But Kishi goes into how magnetic fields can play with the ether, and it's just the variance of magnetic fields that let you have antimatter or matter or dark matter. He considers all three of those as you don't like dark matter, I know that, but says he can manipulate all three just by changing magnetic fields, and he also describes how light is just a process of interacting magnetic fields. And I've been reading some Walter Russell recently, and that kind of seems to vibe with him a lot.
Yeah, yeah. What the whole question of what light is, how it travels through the ether, how it interacts with plasma and magnetism, all that is still up for grabs. I mean, after Maxwell and the suppression and like obfuscation of all that, we really need to start from scratch. And all we can do is just like learn, give each particular researcher and science the respect they deserve, and without any kind of commitment in our mind, and then just see what connections form. Right? That's what you're an expert at doing. Or you're becoming an expert at it. That's what we need.
I'm trying. I'm trying to connect the dots, man. I mean, you just start reading so much. I mean, the BS starts to fall through, and you see certain things that just consistently read about over and over and over, and you're like, those are some, oh, just following that golden thread, if you will.
Yeah, yeah. It's that repetition where you hear about a concept and like, oh, I remember that from here, and then you've heard it again, and then you also get, which I even think it's more important to know the pattern of the deception, because the way that they lie is always the same. It has that same pattern.
Oh,
Once you figure it out,
yep, it's pretty
that's
easy to find out, man. Uh, if you're interested in the disinformation topic, I think an excellent book is Laura Knight Zajak's book or whatever.
oh yeah,
High Strangeness. I just read this. It's helping me deal with some things right now. Very, very informational. It's awesome. It will help point a new light on a lot of the bullshit you see being pushed through the mainstream.
yeah, yeah. High Strangers. It's definitely on my list. Bernhard Gunther recommended that, and he turned me on to all those researchers. It's just amazing,
Oh,
you know.
hey, Tech, I'm going to have to interrupt you right now. The
Yeah.
laptop I'm using, the battery is about to die, and I do not have a charger for it.
Okay.
So I'm on like 6 or 7%, just so you know.
Oh, okay. So there's no way. All right. Wow. In that regard, let's leave it off on a spiritual note. Like you're someone who's really dived into the spirit world, and this whole thing about entities, spiritual parasites. Have you encountered those things?
I can't say. I see a lot of orbs, and actually yesterday I was at this girl's house, and she went out of the room. I saw this.
You know what? Hold on a second. Before we talk about what you've seen, what do you think about that whole school of thought that there are these spiritual entities that maybe you can't see them, but they definitely have an influence. There's an external influence affecting mankind. Uh-oh. Well, guys, it seems we've lost HL. He's had some technical difficulties. His battery ran out, but that was absolutely amazing. This guy is absolutely brilliant. Every time I talk to him, I learn so much. Like a lot of us guys in Etherforce, we always call each other up on the phone and we just talk for hours and hours and hours with Tom Brown, Michael Thoreau, HL, NASA Nate, Dane Henderson. There's so many of these guys that are just absolutely brilliant young guys, and we're kind of connecting them with the older guys like Tom Brown, and we're really bringing things together. A lot of amazing things are coming up right now. Like Ed Mitchell's making amazing progress, and it's just an awesome time to be alive. There's a lot happening in the world, and we've got some amazing people that we're lining up for you guys, and some amazing things are happening. So thank you, HL. You are absolutely amazing. I hope to be down in St. Louis to meet you sometime, brother, because you're really an inspiration, man. You're not just your knowledge, but your courage and conviction, and your open-mindedness, and your, the complete and total lack of ego in this guy is he's just, he's one of the real gurus. He's not just up and coming, he's already here. You just don't know about him because the guy's not interested in marketing himself. But if you're interested in learning, HL is the guy for you. Check out his chest on his key chest on keychest.com. He's got like almost 300 gigs of the most amazing stuff, all uploaded for free completely. All the real knowledge you don't have to pay for. If anyone's asking you for $50 for some video or some BS book, it's just crap. Don't pay for it. The real knowledge is all there. It's all free. The way they suppress it is by getting no one to talk about it. So look, let's all look for more from HL and all the great people at Etherforce. Thank you so much, HL. Hope to talk to you soon, brother. Peace out. We'll see you guys very soon. May the force be with you.